Carlos is a committed student and future Annapolis alumni that travels 2 hours every day from East LA to the Palisades to attend a better school on a football scholarship. On a rare lazy day for Carlos, he meets Nicole, a troubled, wild child doing community service, and in that moment, both of their lives shift. What begins as a light attraction between teens quickly morphs into both a crazy and beautiful love story. Hey there, my name's Porsha Lauri. Welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I really wanted to talk about a childhood favorite movie of mine. Today, we're gonna be talking about the movie Crazy Beautiful from 2001. When I was a kid, I would get super invested in specific actors and or actresses. I would try to kind of dive into all of their filmography, whatever I could get my hands on at the time. I wanted to see them in it. One of these actresses that I really enjoyed a lot of their work growing up would be Kirsten Dunst. I think most people are pretty familiar with her work, but if you're not, here's a quick synopsis of some of her filmography. Kirsten Dunst is probably most well known for her role in Bring It On. She was also in Drop Dead Gorgeous, Interview with a Vampire, the original Jumanji, Virgin Suicides. The girl has had quite the career. One of her lesser known titles would be the movie we're going to be talking about today, Crazy Beautiful. And I don't particularly enjoy being very political in my videos.
Oh no, I'm not brave enough for politics.
Mostly I'm talking about my level of entertainment from these projects, but I think that this movie will require us to delve a little bit deeper into some of the common themes that we see presented throughout the film. With that being said, I am still trying to have some fun, so don't take this video too seriously, but I also thought that this was like a really important movie. Not a whole lot of people have seen it. I think you should go and check it out. With all that being said, before we jump in, as always, if you enjoy listening to my opinion on all things pop culture, movies, TV shows, music, whatever I feel like talking about, do me a solid and drop a like on this video, then run over to that subscribe button, hit the bell next to it so you know every time I upload. And if you can't get enough of my opinion here, you can go on over to the Cinema Sit Down podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. It's hosted by myself, my boyfriend, and his best friend, and we just sit around, we talk about movies, and it's a whole lot of fun. Loved if you joined us there. Now let's talk about Crazy Beautiful. Crazy Beautiful is loosely based on a photography book by Lauren Greenfeld called Fast Forward. The way the photos are displayed in the book is very reminiscent of what we would see on screen with Crazy Beautiful, with the kind of half-developed photos mixed in with like a kind of scrapbooking and doodle style. And that's something that really adds something to the film, especially from an aesthetic point of view. That's why it's something that was really eye-catching to me in the early 2000s. I saw it not too long after it debuted. I just remember this aesthetic, this style was really reminiscent of what you would see in teenage bedrooms at the time. It kind of had that like magazine quality of like kind of taking different photos and words and stuff and kind of slapping them all together to create a collage. I really enjoyed how much that's utilized within the film. Usually when a movie is based on a book, you're assuming that it's taking something from the story. It's a story that they're now creating a visual element to, whereas this is very different than that because this is a photography book. There's no story within it, but just the way that they made that transition, it really comes alive. In the original script for this film, it was actually meant to have an R rating. A lot of the way that Nicole's rebellion is displayed within the movie has a lot to do with substance abuse. It's definitely talked about more than it is shown on camera. In the original script, there were going to be a lot more scenes of her doing these different substances, as well as some like light nudity. But Kirsten Dunst was actually 17 when she signed on to this role, so technically a minor. When her mother got word that there was going to be nudity involved. She did not want that for her young daughter. She felt like she was still not in a position to decide to display her body in such a way. And so those scenes were then changed into being much more modest. This is also a movie that is produced by Disney. It came as no surprise once I learned it was a Disney project, but at the time, like, I definitely wouldn't have thought that this would be part of the vault. Another large part of why Kirsten Dunst wanted so badly to be in this movie and casted for the role of Nicole is she really wanted to step away from the good girls that she had played up until this point. Also think this kind of kept Kirsten Dunst from being typecasted into one specific role. I think there are eras you can see of her career where she was doing a lot of similar things, but at the same time, she would take these roles that were just different enough to remember, like, she's a real actress. She's not just the manic pixie dream girl all the time. Let's discuss some of the themes showcased in Crazy Beautiful. So Carlos, of course, is one of our main characters, our main male love interest, and he is a Latino teen who commutes all the way from East LA to the Palisades on a football scholarship. This is not only so that he can just like play football at a better stadium, this is so that he can get an overall better education. Carlos has really big dreams, he has really big aspirations, and the biggest is that he wants to be a pilot and he wants to go into the Air Force, and step one of that will be getting into Annapolis. So Carlos works really hard. He's very dedicated in order to pursue this dream. His family are like first generation immigrants. There's a lot of them living together, trying to achieve the American dream. He has a single mother. We don't see any kind of father figure around, except for his older brother is a fill-in for that absence. We also see aspects of the fact that even though Carlos is extremely ambitious and driven, he does have friends who are less so. We also see that these friends often make fun of Carlos for being so driven, for spending all of his time getting to and from this very white school, and how he is sort of whitewashed. A phrasing that we will kind of hear over and over again, almost to try to say as if being an ambitious, driven person is somehow a white representing trait as opposed to just a human trait. Now, on the literal other side of the tracks, we have Nicole, who can definitely be perceived as a spoiled, rich white girl. However, we do come to realize that she's actually had a pretty traumatic childhood. Due to the traumatic childhood, which we'll get into more of the details of that as we go on, she uses these antics and behaviors as a coping mechanism for what's really going on inside. She also has mental health issues, oftentimes are perceived from other people as being an annoyance or getting in the way of, as opposed to something that they're actively working with her to try to improve upon. So we have these two different sides of the tracks, love interest, and we're going to kind of get into how they meet and what the beginnings of their relationship kind of looks like. So when we meet Nicole, we find her on a beach and she's picking up trash with a group of kids. Clearly, she is part of some kind of forced volunteer group. She's in trouble for something, and that's why she is picking up garbage out of the sand. Meanwhile, Carlos is having an off day where he's with his friends at the pier. They're just walking around shooting the shit. They spot Nicole from their point on the pier. We see that there's kind of an instant physical attraction between Carlos and Nicole. They seemingly can't really take their eyes off of one another. All of a sudden, this innocuous run-in becomes something much bigger. The following day, we see Carlos run into Nicole. She is, in fact, outside with her friends, causing a little bit of trouble, drinking some drinks. They get caught, obviously, because they were not being very discreet, and they both end up in detention. Now, Nicole really takes this in stride. It seems to be part of her everyday routine, whereas Carlos is really struggling with this. I don't have time for this. And it almost seems he's like, God, my mom's gonna be so mad at me. Carlos runs basically from detention straight to the football field because he's late for practice. So he's obviously stressed out and anxious because he doesn't know what he's gonna find being late for practice. He's going to be punished in some type of way. Before he can get to the field, Nicole runs after him and she's like, I'm sorry for like getting you in trouble, but like it's not that big of a deal. And he tells her like, don't play with me. This is a really big deal and a good opportunity for me, and I can't be messing this up for you and your antics. This might be the first time that Nicole is truly held accountable for her actions, or that someone finally tells her to her face, like, you have hurt me and I will not allow this. And I feel like this is one of the first times this has probably ever happened in her teenage life, or it's happened from someone that she actually has somewhat of a respect for. And so he establishes at the beginning how important his education is. If she wants to have a space in his life, she's going to have to respect that. Now, does she respect it? No, that's gonna take some time to build, but I like that we establish it right off the jump. Moving forward a bit, when their relationship starts to kind of develop, one of the first times that Carlos and Nicole are able to truly hang out is after a football game. They end up going to get tacos, and then that night Nicole and her friend Maddie end up bringing Carlos home, where inevitably the two girls end up meeting Carlos's mother, whom is very upset because they end up arriving home very late at night. It's very clear from the moment that these two girls are introduced to Carlos's mom that she has a lot of disdain for them. Just reading off of the body language, just reading off of the outfits that they are wearing, which I might add are quite scantily clad. She has already decided, like, these are not the type of people that I want you surrounding yourself with. It's just not a good look. So there's a clear divide without much being said. I think this movie does a really good job of playing off of subtlety and not necessarily telling you everything that's happening to your face. It's up to the audience to kind of decide why the mom feels this way, or why people are reacting this way, or to just pick up on nuances. On the opposite side of the tracks, we see that Carlos does run into Nicole's dad. So we find out that Nicole's dad, Tom, is a politician. But something that Tom prides himself on very much so is that he employs a lot of the Latino community and does a lot of outreach and charity work for that community specifically. I'd really love to read what you guys think about Tom in the comments below. I don't think he is racist. I just get an impression that he's like trying too hard and also being a little culturally insensitive, coming from a place of ignorance, or is that intentional? And I really like the thing about like him employing so many people of the Latino community is not an issue. It makes me wonder, are you paying the same that you would if they were white? So that makes me kind of question his authenticity when he says that he cares. Now, with Tom being a politician, this is important to Carlos. One, you know, this is an important impression that he's making, and any missteps he may take with his daughter definitely put him in a power imbalance, as well as the fact that he is an ambitious and driven guy that very much wants to get into this very prestigious military school. And so having the backing of someone like Tom could be really beneficial to him. However, from Nicole's point of view, this can make her feel as though she's being used. Now, since we are talking about Tom, I think this is a good time to kind of reposition Nicole as well. I don't think it's lost on Nicole at all that her and Carlos are different, not only with ethnicities, but also with cultural upbringings and traditions. She is not unaware that these differences exist and that they may or may not cause some type of issue for them. But when it comes to them just being together, just the two of them, it seems as though none of those things are at the forefront of her mind. Her thought process is to just get to know this guy that she's very interested in. There's something about Carlos that makes her want to be better. So as things progress through their relationship, we do see ups and downs. When Nicole and Carlos really have their relationship kind of go official, we see that they make each other happy. However, Nicole is constantly pushing Carlos's boundaries, much like the beginning of like the getting detention and being carefree about it and not caring that it messed up the rest of his day. We see that still happening where she's like, just spend a little bit longer, and he's late coming home. He's missing practices, backpedaling as to where he was. You know, he was doing really well, and all of a sudden there's a change in him where he's being less responsible. A lot of this is due to Nicole's lack of respect for other people and their time. As we see this happening, we see Carlos hanging out with his friends, saying they come up to him and they're like, you never have time for us anymore, you're always with that white girl. And so we see them actually come to him in the Palisades, and there's a whole scuffle that happens, run-in with his friends from the football team who end up being actual racists. Then they create a physical altercation. Now, along with this timing of when him and his friends get into this altercation, they're not seeing eye to eye, things are not going super well. He also misses an appointment with Nicole's dad to basically get him a recommendation letter for Annapolis. When he tries to make up the appointment and everything, Tom calls him out. He says that, you know, I know the real reason you didn't make it to your appointment, and it's Nicole. She's my daughter and I love her, but she's bad news. Like, you should stay away from her. It really puts Carlos into such a precarious situation, really makes him question Nicole's role in his life. Ultimately, for a while, he does stop pursuing Nicole. He doesn't return her calls, he's not around to hang out with her, and he puts some serious distance in between them. Now, ultimately, we will see this all kind of come full circle. I do think another really important moment in the movie is when Carlos is trying to get a hold of Nicole, like he really misses her and he just wants to talk to her. When he speaks to her, he very quickly realizes that she's doing substances again, she's not in a good headspace, and she's probably not somewhere safe. So he ends up going and picking her up from the house party that one of his football friends was throwing. He picks her up, but she's not completely coherent. He takes her home in her car. As they are driving home, they get pulled over by the police. And you can tell by how quickly things turn. If it weren't for the fact that when they pull up, they see that this is Tom, a political figure's daughter, with a Hispanic man in a car registered to his name. It looks bad. She's not fully coherent, but because he is who he is, instead of reporting any of this, they just get taken to her house, and it's kind of dealt with there, and no one's charged with anything. This also displays the privilege of the fact that Nicole's probably never really been held accountable, especially in terms of the law, for the things that she's doing because of who she is. And this very much plays into the fact that she not only has privilege of her father being a politician, but the privilege of just being a white girl in a rich city. Moving on into our next section, something I mentioned at the beginning of this is that I feel as though Nicole's mental health struggles are treated as more of an annoyance, and showcasing how it impedes on everybody's life, really less so about helping her to be better. I think that speaks to how we were viewing mental health up until, I would say, maybe the last 10 years. Everyone is constantly talking about how, oh, she has to go to therapy. Oh, she has to take these pills. Oh, it's so annoying. We actually peel back the layers and we find out why Nicole is the way she is, or part of why she is. It doesn't seem as though anyone is going out of their way to help her or to be there for her or to talk her through these things. It's more like, no, shh. That happened a long time ago, let it go.
Oh my God, will you let it go?
As someone who is already feeling as though their mental health is an annoyance, a hindrance, they then don't feel very loved themselves. They also then feel abandoned by those around them because those around them are mostly just irritated with them. And so naturally, it makes sense as to why Nicole would feel as though she is a burden and would drown her sorrows, depression, her thoughts, her feelings, everything into a bottle or pills or what have you. Anything that will allow her to escape, which is a really sad addition to the story. It's so important because it's so common. In this first scenario, she does lie to Carlos. She says that her mom just like decided to leave and run away. She didn't want to be with her father anymore. He was too overbearing, and so she just left, and she has a whole new life and she's just not part of it. What we actually find out later from her father is that her mother self-deleted, and Nicole was ultimately the one to find her. Now, later on, Carlos does confront Nicole about this and says, "This is what your dad actually told me." And so she goes into more detail of what that actually looked like, how she was playing and trying to be quiet because her mom was seemingly sleeping. Eventually she realizes like that's not actually what was going on. To witness something like that in your life as a child would really have a big impact on you. Then go on to have these mental health struggles and feel so abandoned. Now this isn't like the first time she's felt this way. This is a second abandonment. Now, something I thought was kind of poignant and interesting also, because this is 2001, so this makes sense for how parents would react in this kind of scenario when they have a kid with these types of mental health struggles, is that Tom's, last plan of attack, he threatens to send her to Turnabout Ranch. Isn't that wild? Like the actual Turnabout Ranch, he references it. This is the same one that's in Utah. This is the same place where they sent Danielle Bregoli, actually was sent here from the Dr. Phil show, and she has gone on to describe how horrible that was and how it intensified the mental health issues that she was having and further traumatized her as opposed to doing anything that they claimed they would do. And so it was so weird to go back and watch this movie from 2001, and that was the solution at the time. The things that we would learn about those places in the years to come. Something I do think that is quite beautiful at the end of the movie is that Nicole finally does open up to her dad. Carlos really encourages Nicole to pursue a relationship with him. He can see how hard Tom is trying or would like to try, and how much he does love his daughter. And so I do think it's really rewarding at the end for Nicole to be like, I do feel abandoned and I feel unloved, and if you could try to love me, that'd be so great. To open up as a teenager to say something like that to a parent, that's really difficult and hard. And then to see him basically say like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm trying my best, but I love you endlessly. That was all I needed. I don't actually need to know that they rode off into the sunset, had a perfect relationship. It's these hard conversations that I really enjoy them being on camera, to be like, yeah, there's a way to get resolution and it doesn't have to look perfect, but at least they opened up to each other by the end of it. So now we get into our final section, the part where I'm probably going to be smiling a lot. Let's talk about their love relationship. Let's talk about the familial relationships, the romance, and of course, their friendship. So obviously at the beginning of the film, there's very, very much a big physical attraction between them. They don't share classes, they don't share friends, they don't share common after school activities. So they could not be more opposite than this. And I really enjoy how they display their kind of coming together. It feels so natural, and it also just reminded me of being infatuated or having a crush when you're in high school. Like, it feels all consuming. It feels like it's every part of your day. The only thoughts are about this person. And I feel like they did a really good job showcasing that, but in a way that didn't feel necessarily unhealthy. I know that this is subjective, so not everyone will necessarily share my point of view on this, but I personally did not get a sense that their relationship was toxic or inappropriate, or that they were really codependent on one another. I really just felt like they were teenagers that fell in love. Like, that felt so real to me. I really think that this movie is just so beautiful. I told you I'm gonna smile uncontrollably and feel stupid for doing that. It very much is a modernization of Romeo and Juliet. We do see them kind of testing each other's families too. Like, I think Carlos knows that bringing Nicole around is going to create a bit bit of controversy within his family. And you can see how, from their perspective, they don't enjoy her, but from Nicole's perspective, she's telling him, oh, my dad would be so excited if there was a brown guy in my bed. I watched the movie with a little bit of rose-colored glasses, but there are a few moments where Nicole says a few off-color things that I'm like, in retrospect, I'm like, that was kind of hurtful, or like that didn't need to be said, or like they do kind of like push back against their families a little bit to be like, you know, I love who I love. And I think by the end of that, we really see that come to fruition, because Carlos's mom is really not a fan of Nicole, even though she won't come out and like just say that. Carlos's mother also this entire movie only speaks in Spanish, something I really appreciated. I meant to go back and translate everything that she says because I wanted to have a better understanding of her perspective, but I forgot to do that. So if anyone has watched the movie and knows a little bit more or can present a little bit more, let us know in the comments. Does Carlos's mom be a little bit more forthright about her opinions of Nicole, or what does she say about Nicole? Something else I also appreciated is, like, I guess you could look at this and be like, oh, they're trauma bonded from their like mutual childhood traumas, but I don't think that's the case at all. I merely think that they genuinely want to get to know each other. They genuinely want to build a foundation. They care about one another, and so naturally they're going to talk about their past. And I appreciate that while both of them have lost a parent in some capacity, it doesn't seem like either of them are given supremacy over the other, like one hurt is not more than the other. They just both acknowledge that each other have been abandoned by people who are supposed to love them, and they acknowledge this as just like something that they have in common and not something they are bonded over as to be the thing that keeps them together. Again, to go along with that, I really appreciate how Carlos, you know, champions for Tom and Nicole to improve their relationship with each other, because he realizes how important that is and how much love Tom has for Nicole, even though they don't know how to communicate with one another. I think that takes a strong person, but not only that, an even stronger teenager to be able to see outside of themselves and give someone else good suggestions and to encourage them to have this relationship, even though they personally don't even have that. Something else I really enjoy is that neither of each other seem to be trying to fix one another. We don't see Carlos suggesting how Nicole should spend her time, or suggesting like, you should take your meds, or you should go to therapy more, or you should get a hobby. He more calls her out when she's doing things that are hurtful to herself and hurtful to others. And lastly, I really enjoy that Carlos is the one that has dreams and ambitions, because so often I think in like teen romance movies, it's the girl who has dreams and ambitions and the guy like derails or helps her achieve them. Whereas I like that this was rotated into the way that he was the one with all the drive, the ambitions, and all of that motivated Nicole to have her own. While Nicole didn't have any crazy like comparable driven ambition she was shooting for, I do think that through her connection with Carlos and being so mesmerized by him and his work ethic, I think that made her want to take photography more seriously. I imagine in like the future of the movie, like after everything ends, like he would go off to Annapolis as they display, but I think she would end up going to art school and doing something within that realm. But I like that their relationship was not toxically like together. They each had their own individual personalities and they helped each other to grow. I think it can be really lost that you think that this movie is all about like little girl lost, like Nicole is suffering and this guy helps her to pull her out of her depression. But that's not the impression I got. The impression I got is that these are two people with totally opposite, completely different lives, and look at how they came together and created this love together. So even though Nicole is showcased as the troublesome of the two, I appreciate how Carlos mentions the things that he's learned from her, how he doesn't have to take everything so seriously, which I would imagine Carlos probably pre-Nicole would get a lot of anxiety and probably just keep it to himself, would be really stressed out a lot. And with Nicole, he could just relax and be himself. And the thing that he loves about Nicole is he doesn't have to do that with her. He's just himself 100%. She's just herself 100%. They say the things that they feel and feel what they say. It all just comes across so genuine, and I think they just did such a magnificent job making their love story feel real. I also think, like I had mentioned at the beginning in the background, how this movie was supposed to be rated R, you could kind of see that they were alluding to sex scenes that they would later on replace with these like very sweet montages. But I think that, again, it adds to this love story, and it makes it so that their relationship isn't just 100% physical, which is the impression I get from most other teen romance movies, if I'm being honest. This is a rare film showcasing a toxic turn to positive love between two very different teens. The movie conquers hard topics without feeling preachy, as well as a level of reality that adds legitimacy to their story. Carlos and Nicole feel grounded and not monoliths of their given stereotypes, and the love story balances between beautiful love shots against deep conversations in a smooth way. I really enjoyed every moment of watching this movie, and I rewatched it probably a total of like 5 times before I actually got around to making the script. I just really enjoy this movie. I don't know, there's just something about it that just makes me feel good, even though it's like so kind of sad and melancholy and depressing. I don't know, there's something about the movie, it just makes me feel good.
That's my opinion!
I really enjoy every performance in this. Also, shout out to Taryn Manning, who just, I swear to God, just pops up in random teen movies that I'm like, why is Taryn Manning here? I really think Kirsten Dunst blows it out of the water. I think she did a great job playing Nicole. I could see the pieces of other characters she would go on to play in her adult career. I think this was such a great jumping off point to kind of start that aspect of her life. I think Jay Hernandez is a severely underutilized actor. I don't know where he's at today, but I hope he's still making wonderful things. I literally couldn't name you anything else I know him from. This is like the movie I really remember. If you have any suggestions for other movies of theirs I should check out, please throw them in the comments down below. I would love to get reintroduced to where Kirsten is now, because I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't really keep up with her career like I thought I would, and I haven't really seen any of the movies or projects she's done in the last 10 years, and I'd love to get back on that bandwagon. I don't know if I'll be doing more video essays like this one. I've always wanted to try my hand about talking about deeper issues than just like, this is silly and this doesn't make sense. But it's also really hard for me to write something like this. I just felt like an imposter the whole time I was writing this background. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just trying my best. But please let me know what you thought of this video. Do you want me to delve into more deeper movies? Would you like me to do more video essays? I have a couple that I'm kind of working on back here in the noggin, so we'll see if those ever come to fruition, but I would love some of your feedback, so please let me know what you thought about this, as I know it was a little bit different than other things I've done on my channel. With all that being said, I think that's all I got for you today. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching this. Please, if you haven't, do yourself a favor and go watch Crazy Beautiful. I do think it's really, really beautiful, and if you get nothing else out of it, it's great for aesthetics. And again, I'm still trying to do the outfit thing, so I feel like today I was trying to encompass, you know, Nicole's energy. This felt very much like a Nicole outfit. I did very little makeup to go along with it, just like a tight eyeliner. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for watching the video. Please let me know your feedback down in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please do me a solid and drop a like on it. If you enjoy my opinion, make sure you check out the podcast. The podcast, as well as all of my socials, will be linked in the description box below. Please go give those a check out. I would really appreciate them. And until next time, I will catch you guys later. Bye.